Let's talk about something huge, a force that has totally reshaped how we live and, well, how we talk to each other. It's called globalization. You've probably heard the term, but it's basically what's making our world feel smaller and more connected than ever before. So, how did this even happen? And what does it really mean for us every single day? Let's get into it. I mean, just think about the last few days. Have you maybe binge watched a show from, say, South Korea or Spain? Or what about that thing you just bought online, the one that was made and shipped from thousands of miles away? Or even just this, have you jumped into a video call with a coworker in another country or maybe teamed up with a gamer who's playing in a totally different time zone? See? If you've done any of that, you've been a part of globalization. But do you ever just stop and think about how all these connections are possible and how it's literally changing the way we speak and understand each other? All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to pin down what's making our world feel so small. Then we'll look at the incredible communication revolution it kicked off. After that, we'll get real about the new challenges that come with it. And we'll wrap up with a practical toolkit you can use to navigate it all. Okay, let's start at square one. What exactly is globalization? We hear the word thrown around all the time, but what's the real deal? Now, the key word here, the one I really want you to grab onto, is interdependence. It's not just about stuff crossing borders. It's about how we all now rely on each other. It's like a giant, intricate web. The phone in your hand, the coffee you drink, our daily lives are woven together with people and places all over the planet. And this web, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built on the back of a mind-blowing revolution in communication. I'm talking about going from waiting weeks for a letter to getting a message in milliseconds. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day. Think about your grandparents' generation. Sending a letter across an ocean was a huge deal, a long wait. Today, you can have a face-to-face video chat with someone on the other side of the planet, and it feels like they're right there. That change in speed, it changes everything. So how does this actually play out? Well, let's take a company we all know, like Apple. You've got designers in California, right? Then you have manufacturing teams in China and marketing folks in Europe. For them to create a single product, they have to work together constantly. They can't wait weeks for a letter. They need instant collaboration. Video calls, shared files, constant chats. That just wasn't possible a few decades ago. And you know, it's not just for the big corporations. This quote really hits the nail on the head. Digital platforms have put that power in our hands. Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? It started small, locally, but thanks to platforms like Facebook and YouTube, it went viral, becoming a global movement that raised millions for ALS research. It shows how one person's idea can now literally travel the world in a matter of hours. But okay, let's be real. This constant, global fire hose of information isn't always easy. For all the amazing opportunities, there are some pretty tough new challenges we have to figure out how to handle. First up, we've got the minefield of cultural misunderstandings. And it can be something as simple as eye contact. In a lot of Western countries, looking someone in the eye says, "I'm honest, I'm engaged." But in some Asian cultures, that same direct stare could be seen as aggressive or disrespectful. The point isn't that one is right and one is wrong, they're just different. But not knowing that difference can cause some major problems. Next is a challenge that I'm sure we're all way too familiar with: misinformation. The same incredible speed that lets a great idea go viral also lets a terrible one spread like wildfire. We all saw it during the COVID-19 pandemic. There was this global infodemic where false cures and crazy theories jumped from country to country just as fast as the virus itself, and it caused real-world harm. And finally, there's the digital divide. It's easy to talk about our connected planet, but we have to remember that not everyone has the same connection. In many places, like in the rural Philippines, spotty or non-existent internet access is a huge barrier. It cuts people off from online classes, remote jobs, and the global conversation. It creates a massive gap between the haves and the have-nots. So, with all these challenges, how do we get better at this whole global communication thing? Well, that's what this last section is all about. We're going to build your personal communication toolkit with some skills you can start using today. The very first tool is actually a change in mindset. It's about understanding this idea of world Englishes. The big takeaway here is that English doesn't just belong to places like the UK or the US anymore. It's a global language now, and different cultures have adapted it, creating their own totally valid and legitimate versions. A linguist named Braj Kaitru came up with this really helpful model to picture it. You've got the inner circle, think the US or UK, where the traditional rules of English come from. Then there's the outer circle, places like the Philippines or India, where English has a long history and they're developing their own new norms. And finally, the expanding circle, like Japan or Brazil, where people learn English based on the norms from the other two circles. The crucial thing to get is that no circle is better than another. They just relate to the language differently. And here's what that actually looks like. In Philippine English, you might ask for the comfort room, not the restroom. And get this, the word salvage in the Philippines means to kill someone. That's the exact opposite of what it means in American English. The goal isn't to say one is wrong. It's just to understand these differences so we don't end up completely confused. Okay, so what can you actually do to get better at understanding people? Here are 4 simple strategies. 1. Really listen to the message, not just how it's pronounced. 2. Never be afraid to politely say, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" It's totally okay. 3. Use the rest of the conversation as clues to figure out what someone means. And 4. Expose yourself to more. Watch international movies, listen to news from other countries. The more you hear, the easier it gets. And the last tool for your kid, know your audience. When you're in a global, professional, or academic setting, it's usually safest to steer clear of slang and idioms. A common phrase like, "it's a piece of cake," might just leave someone confused. So instead of gonna, say going to. Instead of saying something is kinda a big deal, use a clearer phrase like, "it plays a significant role." It just makes sure everyone is on the same page. So, we're left with this question. Communicating today is more powerful, but also way more complex than it's ever been. Understanding globalization, its challenges, and all the different ways we speak is step 1. But the next step? Well, that's up to you. In this shrinking, super connected world, how are you going to make your voice understood?